Good luck with that.
And I won't be taking notes because I'll have the video. I'm just going to be asking questions.
Okay.
So
just a little bit.
I appreciate you guys giving me some time for this. Hopefully it'll take longer than 20 minutes or half an hour. So I'd like to know if somebody would like to introduce me to the family.
I'll do that. This is Miss Valerie Daniel, and she's a student in the master's program. She has to do a project, and you are going to help her, okay? And this is Alex and Simon, who's 6, and then myself, Diane, and Alexandria, who's 20, almost 21. And then Andrew, come here, Andrew, come back in here. Andrew, who is 3, almost 4.
Oh, don't you want to be on the camera?
I know, look, you can be in the camera. You're missing it. Look, we're all on the camera, but Andrew. Hi.
Will you come back in a minute, please? No, it's okay.
I'll go grab him.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
So is this the kind of the basic family unit? Are there other kids too that live outside the home?
Not that we know of.
Well, you probably know. Diane and Alex, how long have you guys been married?
26 years, we'll be 27 in July.
Wow, okay. And can you describe your occupation and educational level?
I have an associate's degree in electronics, and I'm a project manager down at the CDC in the IT business.
Oh, okay. Do you work with Jessica's husband?
I know Jessica's husband, but Matt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, different, same campus but different building.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, he's on the actual science side, so doing the real work in the CDC.
I have a PhD in developmental psychology, and I what was that thing? Education and occupation. I'm a professor at University of Georgia.
Okay. And Alexandria, do you want to share?
Yeah, you have an education.
So far, I have my associate's degree. No, I'm working on my bachelor's, my BFA right now for scientific illustration, and I work at a bar.
At the Hilton Hotel Bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simon, come here, bud.
Special treat for you.
Is this allowable in your video?
It's going to be what it's going to be, you know?
Well, welcome to our house.
I can still hear the
Come here,
voices,
Andrew,
so
remember?
That's all that matters.
If you come and sit and listen and answer questions, you get a special treat. Yeah, bribery.
I know.
Yeah, what do you use to get your children back to hospital? Candy, milkshakes.
So we
Okay, so I'm just going to ask a couple questions about your guys' upbringing, just for a few things. Just if you could describe your birth order, like how many siblings you have, and
I have one older sister,
okay.
and mom and dad, they're still living.
With your older sibling, do you? What's your relationship like?
It's typical, I guess. Long distance has kind of broken us up now because of my brother-in-law's, job. He works for Ford, and but we've, most recently we've just helped mom and dad out. Mom had some surgery, so she went up first and helped first part of the week, and I helped the second part of the week. So copacetic and normal, I guess, as far as two grown adult people can still be brother and sister, so it's normal.
Okay. Do you feel like it's a competitive ever?
Not really.
Not really?
No. I mean, we're, obviously she's female and I'm male, so, it's kind of always been pretty equal, I guess, and even in that sense, but.
How many years are between you?
4.
So she's bigger, older sister.
Yeah, exactly.
And your parent, like the parenting style that your parents used with you, was it, like how would you guys get punished or rewarded or?
Classic, in our generation, I mean, corporal punishment wasn't, a no-no, but
Right.
probably on one hand, I can count how many times I was over, spanked for bad behavior, misbehavior. But, and we were raised in a Christian family. I mean, mom and dad were, always active churchgoers, and You know, so,
No.
I've always told people the joke was that, you know, the prayer that my dad would have with me before he spanked me was always worse than the spanking itself. So, you know, that was, but that, they were, you know, they were a loving family. I mean, you know, it's, we were pretty typical kids and, you know, like I said, I think only maybe 5 times, you know, 4 or 5 times that you know, Dad ever had. He just never really had to pull it out of me. We were pretty much, in line. You know, Mom and Dad were pretty good about making sure we behaved, so we never got to the point where we needed us, you know, any kind of punishment
Were
like that.
your parents both working, or?
Yes, Dad worked for the railroad, and Mom worked for the bank and the planning district commission there in Virginia Beach. But yeah, both worked out of the home. And for a short period of time when I was real small, I think Mom was home for a little while. But pretty much, you know.
Were you guys kind of the latchkey generation, where you kind of came home after school and there wasn't anybody there for a couple hours, or?
Well, we always had a place to go, but I mean, I guess yes. I mean, we had a care, you know, lady around the, you know, down the street that we might go to if we needed to. But sister's was always home and older. So, me personally, I don't remember that. I don't think so. I mean, you know, Dad working for the railroad, he was always home around 3:30. So, you know, I think for the most part, there was always an adult home when we got home.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Diane?
I have 2 older sisters. One is 8 years older and one is 4 years older. I'm close to both of them. The 8-year-older sister I wasn't as close to until we became adults because we were just to make the time to meet. And
Andrew.
let's see, what kind of punishment my parents used corporal punishment. Yeah, they're sissy. So that was the primary. My dad was in the military. That was the primary form of discipline for us. Though they became, especially my mother became more authoritative and authoritarian as I was a teenager, because I had older sisters who were doing things different. Okay, hold on. Let's see.
I know it's boring.
What else did you ask about? The distance, punishment?
Birth orders, okay.
Birth order, I'm the last, I'm the baby.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 and then 8 years apart.
So when you guys were growing up, did you all get along, or was
Yeah, I was really close to the middle sister because we shared a room for the longest time until I was a teenager.
Okay.
Until a room opened up, you know.
Gotcha.
So I think until I was probably 11 or 12, we shared a room.
Okay.
So we're pretty close.
And were your parents working class
Yeah,
parents?
well,
or-
yeah, we were actually low middle class. I think it was classified Alex's parents the same way. Working class family. My mom didn't work until I was 8, so she stayed home all that time. We were low middle income. My dad was in the military. When he retired, she began working. We moved up a little bit. We were more middle income. And then she wasn't home in the afternoon. My sisters were usually. So every now and then, I mean, there were times like either leaving for school or coming home from school. There might be a little bit of time that I was home by myself, but not very often. Simon, come back. Yeah.
So how
Get
did-
5 people to sit.
I know, it's okay, it's okay. Like I said, nobody's gonna see it but me, so it's fine. So how did you guys decide on the size of your family as a married couple?
By trial and tribulation.
Alexandria was born as I was in grad school. I then was not successful. Well, I had a miscarriage when she was 3. And then we decided to do adoption at some point there. We had a failed adoption, international adoption. And then we decided to do domestic. And good matches, whatever, things like that. Finally, Simon, you sit with me. Or sit in that chair. There's a chair here. You want to sit in my lap? Someone needs a nap. So we adopted him as a baby. He was born in Salt Lake City, and then Andrew we fostered. We fostered him for 2 years and then adopted him. Both of you.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll show
Maybe I
you
should
what we
ask, maybe I should
disciplined.
ask them some questions.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to that and not us. Oh, what? She's going to ask you to say
Okay,
something
so-
you want to say. Listen.
So it was Andrew, which one was Andrew?
This is Andrew.
Andrew and Simon. Okay. So, what are your favorite toys? What's your favorite thing to play with? Nothing?
Yeah, he doesn't like anything.
Don't
You
like-
take all the time. Okay, I'll take this ball.
No, this.
Balls.
Rocket launcher.
Rocket launchers. What do you like about rocket launchers? They go away from stuff.
When you play with outside, what game do you love to play?
I don't have a rocket launcher, but I would play that.
What do you like to play with your dad?
Baseball.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Ready?
Andrew, what do you like to do with your dad?
What do you like to do?
What's your favorite thing to do with dad?
Hit the ball. The soccer goes one to second base.
Ah, you like baseball too. Yeah. So what kind of stuff do you guys like to do with mom?
Tinker. Play puzzles.
Play puzzles.
Play puzzles? Oh, puzzles are fun. Do you do the outside first or the inside first?
Inside.
Inside?
Daniel.
So what's,
You like
Daniel's here.
so who gets you guys ready for school in the morning?
is he?
Simon, who gets you ready for school in the morning?
No.
No one? You get yourself ready?
You do. He does a lot.
Yeah.
He does a lot now.
How do you do?
Me and Dad do very little compared to what we used to do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you answered.
So do you like school? Yeah, what grade are you in?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Oh, kindergarten's fun. Although it's a lot harder these days, I hear. So what do you like to do after school?
Well, what's up
Is
there?
the answer right there?
Yeah.
Huh?
Do you like to play
Same
outside? Do you like video games? I see a bunch of interesting looking toys over there. Is that a train table?
I like to play Wii.
You like to play Wii? Yeah, what's your favorite game on Wii?
Mario.
Mario. I love Mario too. It's fun. Do you like to win?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep it out of the street. Excuse me for just a moment.
Sure.
He's at the edge of the driveway.
So do you have any chores in the house? Is there anything that you're responsible for?
No.
No? No chores? You don't help with the feeding the dogs or anything like that? Walking the dogs? Making your bed? So what about when you're sick, when you don't feel good? Who takes care of you?
Mommy and Daddy.
Mom and Dad?
It's your turn to answer questions.
Okay, Simon, what kind of things do you get in trouble for? Like when mom's gotta give you that look or dad's gotta give you that look, what do you do that gets you in trouble? Hit your brother?
That could possibly be it.
Andrew.
Andrew, what kind of stuff do you do to get in trouble?
Shoot.
What happens?
Tyler, what do y'all do?
Yeah,
What do y'all don't do?
What do you do that you have to go timeout?
Oh,
If it's bad, we go to timeout. Why do you go to timeout?
Yell.
Yeah, scream or
No, Piper, don't.
hit someone.
Drop, Piper.
Leave it, Piper.
Drop.
Diane, you might want to get that.
Yeah, it's a bouncy ball.
My hand.
Yeah, hold on to that.
so Simon, what's your
I
favorite?
want it.
Simon,
I want it.
Give it to me. You have a toy, Simon.
Listen.
You have a toy.
Miss Valerie's
want
here.
it. It's my
Give it to
toy.
him, Andrew.
I got it.
Simon, hey.
Got it.
Okay, so we get up for a minute and come back? All right.
I just noticed you guys have matching shirts on. I don't know why I didn't
Yeah.
until just now.
No, don't go anywhere. No, you're
Yeah,
not.
you realize
Simon,
that.
I
You
need
realize
you.
Oh.
And this is how it rolls. This is pretty much how it rolls. You know, especially if you need attention more than 5 or 10 minutes, right?
Hey Andrew, what's your favorite thing about Simon? What's your favorite thing about having a brother? Someone to play with?
No. Shake my booty.
Get a piece of cheese first.
What about Alexandria? What's your favorite thing about having a big sister?
Brownies.
Brownies? Is that what you said?
Brownies, yeah.
Does she cook you brownies?
Whatever's happening at the moment, I think.
Chicken.
Simon's getting a piece of cheese.
No.
Kind of running out of some steam.
Yeah, I got that.
His when he's hungry, I can tell he's like,
Let me ask you
creepy.
some of the characteristics you notice about you.
This one's wide open. Andrew. He's pretty, he's very extroverted, very active. Simon is more shy, a little bit more, but not as much as school has gotten loosened him up. But he's also matured a lot since he's been in school,
Yeah,
you think?
yeah. They've
But
always slept through the night for the most part, which
Yeah.
was,
like right now they're waking up more than they used to, but it's more night terror, that kind of thing, or just whatever, waking up. But,
they've always slept well, even as babies. I mean,
Yeah,
that was probably the biggest difference between those two and Alexandria. I just remember, you don't remember a whole lot 20 years later, right? When she was real small, but, that was the big comparison. It was like, she got up all the time, woke up all the time through the night. You remember that, but with the boys, they were like light. I've always said they're like light
Yeah,
switches.
Andrew
They're
didn't-
on or off.
and he didn't come here till he was 11 months old, but we had Simon since he was 4 days old. So, but he would wake up, he'd come back. I mean, he's very predictable. And he was a happy baby. They all were happy babies, but he was more of a slow warm up baby. He'd just sit and watch something for a little while before he would engage in it.
So how old was Simon when Andrew was it?
When he came to our house,
When he came-
3.
3, okay. And
About 3.5.
how did he handle that transition?
He great. He just thought, hey, we got a baby to play with, Yes. Did you eat a piece of cheese? All right, you can have a special treat, but you need to come in here with it, okay? All right, thank you. So no, he's always done really well. Even when we'd have visits and drop him off, Andrew off for visits, and he'd come and say, is he coming back? And is he, and I'm like, yeah. So he had to kind of figure that out the best he could at his age of what his notion of what foster meant, and he didn't really understand it. But I'm not surprised he didn't understand it.
I think he kind of had a flashback when you walked in the door, right? You had the briefcase and
Yeah, because we have at least once,
haven't had
and twice a month. We have some.
I have a special treat.
Did you have a piece of cheese? Nope. Don't have a piece of cheese. Ask Sissy for a piece of cheese.
characteristic, ate all the time, still does for the most part, kind of tapered off, but in comparison, they were like night and day in the food category.
Yeah.
Andrew just ate all the time, still does for the most part. Simon's very, peculiar about it.
But Andrew, the first, I would say, when he's 5 or 6 months he was here, he just was in shock. It was, he just sit and look, and now, that kid couldn't have done that, But he had a,
But that, that's,
So it was a little different at first because he just sat there. He didn't take anything of Simon's. He wasn't a difficult baby. He just was in freeze mode from trauma. Yeah. Well, yeah, he had a lot of trauma. So he had a transition, and then he just started coming out of the shell. There's a big difference in 1 year to the next. We look at like Easter pictures. He grew and he's more mature, but he also his personality changed quite a bit.
All right, and so Alexandria was in the house when the boys came.
She was in her senior year.
Oh, okay.
So that was difficult because, in some ways. Good, but difficult too because,
not for Simon. She was 14.
well, for her, not for Simon. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Andrew. Yeah, when Simon came, she was 14. So, but still, even a 14-year-old sister was born. And then when we fostered, she was in her senior year. So she had all the senior stuff going on. But you just look back. You look like, how are we going to do all this? But it all worked
So
out.
she helped out with the
and here
kids
came
and-
the and they
bonded
and she's
Yeah.
always loved
Yeah.
kids, and so it's never been a
Yeah, she's had, she's, for her age, I mean, she, just attached him, took care of him as much as she could, Now with Simon, that was a little more plausible or allowable. You can't, she even
right.
being
She
a
could
daughter,
babysit him. But not
in the
really.
family, she could not fought, with Andrew in the house, at that point, she couldn't stay home alone with the kids by herself. So like, we always had you to get, what do they call it? Respite. Or,
Another foster
or you
care.
had to take them somewhere where they were certified to care for
Yeah.
children. So that's a little dynamic in there that, 2 years of, kind of being constrained with being able to go out to dinner by yourselves or, that kind of thing. You always had to plan for it. So that was a little different, I guess, for, something you weren't expecting with that.
And
deal.
all Alex kept telling me when I would get tried, whatever, he would just say, it's just a season. It's a small little season. I'm like, and I always think I'm like, you're right. It doesn't last very long, You'll live through it and
Yeah,
it'll be
they
fine.
go, they move out and they become visitors. in
Right,
very short order.
yeah.
So can you share with me any of the current struggles your family's going through right now? Any major or minor or just?
I don't know about a struggle. I mean, some challenges we've had, like at home with, mom, like I mentioned, mom got ill, in November through December.
They were here for about 3 weeks.
They were here to
in
visit.
the hospital. Here
Mom
for
ended up in the
Thanksgiving.
hospital.
They ended up staying here for 3 weeks, and the sister came in. So, yeah, that's probably been the biggest, not challenge, but a stressor. And you're worried, and then you got little children, and life still goes on, and jobs and all that. So, yeah, it's been really difficult, but
Right.
it's
But,
worked out okay. It's worked out.
Yeah,
Thank
just
goodness.
typical life stuff. I mean, relationship wise, I mean, we're pretty solid. I mean, almost 27 years doesn't happen by chance, right? There's some work that, that's just, that's like taking care of the car or the house or anything else you care about. You just have to.
But the good thing now is since
Worked out
we
a little
have Andrew adopted, we actually went, away for our weekend. We hadn't done that since Alexander was in middle school. But because between, all the other stuff going on and then Simon's adoption and then fostering, we couldn't, we could, but we just didn't feel comfortable leaving him. We just, maybe potentially a stranger for the weekend, Anyway, so we didn't, and that was really good. So we've, in the past year, have had more time for us, and we can get a babysitter, and we're redoing. It's not a lot, but we do, and it's not. And they're older,
So who planned the trip? Who planned the vacation?
Well, that was me. I planned that. When
You
we
thought
went to
of it,
Atlanta.
but
I booked the room.
after I told you to.
Holy crap. But then we did. I booked the room, yeah. But then we talked about what we wanted to do, and we planned out. We didn't plan a whole lot, but that was the thing we wanted to do. It's just go and see what we like doing,
Yeah, I mean,
So.
Have you done any family vacations like with everybody?
we
Yeah.
do that annually. Again, we'll meet my parents, over my sister, and all you're asking about my sister. So, we're close enough to where we can all cohabitate for a week, right? Is that the right word? Cohabitate.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, stay in the same house together, and we did that. We've done that for years, just about, forever. And
Kind of like a family tradition kind of thing?
Yeah,
That's
for the most part it has been. And then we go, but my family lives in the same city his family lives in, so I'll go up there, or I'll go up there, visit them, and they travel down here a little bit more frequently than his parents do, so it all seems to work out. But we were very fortunate that the caseworker and the judge, I guess potentially with Andrew's case, didn't have any problems with us taking him out of state. So he came here in March, and by June we went to Destin with him, took him to Destin, and we went to Myrtle Beach in July, took him there, and then I took him up to Virginia.
Orlando,
No, I didn't take him
been to
there.
Disney.
Yeah, he's been to Disney, been to Myrtle Beach every year, been to Virginia, been for Christmas. So, it was that part was easy. We weren't like, what are we gonna do? Or he wasn't here for Christmas, and we had to spend it without him or something, which could have happened.
So Alexandra, since you're back, I have some questions
Sorry, I had
for
to
you.
finish up the brownies.
Oh, no, that's okay. They smell delicious. So as the oldest child growing up, I'm wondering what kind of discipline you experienced in the family. Like, what kind of stuff did you do that got you in trouble, and what kind of consequences did you have?
Like what age?
Say teenagerhood.
Teenager, I guess using my phone when I was supposed to be asleep. My phone would get taken away.
Who would take it away?
both of them.
Both of them?
Yeah, or they would take something away and hide it, and then I would proceed to find it.
Really?
Of course.
Interesting. That's
So if you needed money for something, who did you go
Mommy,
to?
I want to do
Probably Dad.
And if you needed permission to go somewhere, to go like on an outing or something, who would you ask?
Both, but maybe Mom more than Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of activities as a teenager and child, or?
Yeah. I played tennis a lot.
only child. For 14
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I always played an instrument. Once I got a car, I had a little bit more freedom, but I was always playing tennis or lacrosse or piano or guitar or
Wow.
yeah.
It's nice your parents gave you a wide variety to choose from.
Yeah.
Were you big on social media stuff? Was that big when you were a teenager?
Facebook when I was in high school, really, but I started getting on Instagram in college, and that's really my extent. Twitter in college too. It was really only Facebook, but I wasn't on it a whole lot.
Okay.
I was just mainly texting and calling
Gotcha.
once I got the unlimited texting.
Oh, praise God. Kind of, you know.
Did you have, so you must have had rules around your cell phone? Is that why they took it, or?
Yeah, well, before we had the unlimited texting, I would still text, and I had to pay per text, and I got in trouble a few times for that. Or just using it when I was supposed to be sleeping. For a while, I had to put it downstairs.
Okay.
No, her biggest thing, and I mean, we was, probably the only thing I really remember of her big thing was like maybe if she didn't tell us from point A to point B, like if she was down the street with a friend, younger, that kind of thing. We had a pretty heavy rule with her on that. That if you go from one friend's house to the next, we need to know. Or if you go from the house to the cul-de-sac or whatever, let us, so we knew where she was. Now, I think that was a little bit, the two factors there, while we were a little more stringent there, is one, she was female and the only child. And then, we always told her, if something happened to you, we'd have to be able to explain it to somebody. Somebody asked a question, we needed to know. So she learned that pretty quick. It was only once or twice maybe she ever wandered off that we didn't know where she was.
Well, then she tested a role or something.
Yeah.
So I know you're in college. Growing up, was it just assumed that you would go to college? Did your parents?
Yeah, and all my friends too. I mean, I have maybe 3 friends that didn't go to college. I mean, even maybe, I don't even know anyone who really went to technical college. It was really, you went to like a small school or big school. But yeah.
Okay. And grade-wise, did you feel like it was expected to get good grades, or did you just automatically get good grades, or somebody pushed you towards it? Who were you most afraid to show your report card to?
Yeah.
Yeah, would there be consequences for grades, or?
I just always got A's and B's. I think my first C I ever got was in college, my first semester, which, sorry about it. It happens, right?
Yeah.
Did you need to ask the boys any more questions?
No, I think
Okay.
they're good. I know they're
Yeah.
I know. They're good for like
10
minutes.
minutes.
3 minutes and 14 seconds.
I left them with the spatula and they promised they'd come in here and answer questions. But
Well, just probably a few more things, just some general questions, like who pays the household bills?
Like who writes the?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because
the
we both
task.
pay for them. The task. That's you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is that something that you guys talked about at the beginning of your marriage, or you've just always done
It's
it?
just
or-
always been that way.
Well, I think we did though. I mean, we did initially talk about it. Who's going to take care of it? But
I just got up every Saturday morning, drank the coffee, do the bills. So it's been the task. I don't remember talking to that stuff.
What?
27 years
Yeah,
ago. Who
yeah.
knows?
I mean, like this, if there's a big
Okay.
expense, will you guys discuss big expenses?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
absolutely.
We're pretty conservative
Yeah.
with our money. Like we don't have credit card debt. I mean we never have. But we've always been in agreement about that. When we talked about that very early on. Actually, before we were married, we talked about that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
still-
there was,
unless we've had to. Obviously, there have been times when you don't have a choice, right?
Mhm.
You just have to charge something because you have to have it right then. But That's always been.
It was the first line in the prenuptial agreement.
Right.
Gotcha. So what about like grocery shopping and dinner? How is that decided?
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
do
much
that.
mom.
I don't mind. Usually weeknight stuff is more the weekend I cook or do stuff, so I don't do a whole lot.
And I used to cook at some level for the family until
did.
they all went vegetarian.
Yeah, that's true.
So the
Yeah, he used to
kinda
grill
got shut
or cook more than meat. About it's been almost 10 years ago. I went vegetarian, and then Andrew and Simon are vegetarians. She's a chicken eater, but that's about it. But she's mostly got you eat more vegetarian. Anyway, the point is though, when that happened, yeah, he didn't. But our general rule is, if I cook, he always cleans the dishes up.
So going vegetarian, that's interesting. Did you guys discuss that, or did she want you to also be vegetarian, or you just kind of said?
She kind of eased into it. She kind started out. I think it was a book you read, right?
Yeah, I read a book, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it. I'm
And so
gonna
she-
stick with it, but I'm gonna try it, and I never
So
went
she
back.
just kind of merged into it. It wasn't like some drastic cutoff date or anything like that. But I've probably benefited from it just from a, less red meat kind of thing. And
Yeah, you
and
can.
the variety of vegetables and all. She's always done really well cooking. Over the years. I mean, it was
Best vegetarian cook.
Well,
never,
thanks. Too
never-
sweet.
never complained when she
No,
cooked a
well, you
meal, no
don't. He's
matter
never
what.
complained.
So,
He doesn't like to cook, so he's
she
never.
normally
he's
calls
like,
her
I
own
don't.
bad dishes out on her own. She-
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know about this, and he'll always
Yeah.
say, "It's okay," which is really, really kind way of saying it sucks, but I don't want to say it to you.
I
because
really
you
don't.
don't
I don't know.
ever-
I've never had anything that you thought
Oh,
like
Dad has had it.
Once or
and he's
twice,
been
I mean,
with
it's
it. Yeah.
very
I mean,
rare
usually,
that-
or I'll say, I don't. It's why I ask him, "Do you think I should make it again?" No. No, I'm like, God, that's what I thought too. No, he's really sweet about it.
Gotcha. And what about house cleaning and outside chores?
When we moved here 15 years ago, almost 15 years ago, our other house was smaller, 3 bedrooms, smaller house, and we used to split that up. But when we moved here, we got a house cleaner every other week. That was the best decision we ever did.
Yeah, that was. I mean, we always
we always
shared
have to.
things inside and outdoors. I mean, she always liked to get outdoors more than I wanted her to, because the grass was mine. But no, she's always gone outside and helped out. And when we shared the chores, our biggest thing was just consistency, right? I mean, just getting it
Trying to
done
get
every
done.
week.
Yeah, with working
And
and
fitting
kids
that
and all.
in, it's always a belabored thing. So having somebody come in every other week was really helpful, just from a, just knowing that you had that backup.
But I do.
That's a
I do
creature
the
comfort,
grocery
right?
shopping. I do the what's got to come from Walmart, unless I say, hey, can you get whatever. And laundry, he does his own laundry, and I do mine, the boys. So I do more laundry because it's a lot more,
Because
But-
she faded out one of my shirts one time.
No, you don't like how I fold
So it's not
something.
trusted.
I said, "Do it yourself."
That was early on though. We kind of
Yeah,
It
who
was
folds
your
his
fault.
underwear?
split that. Yeah,
Yeah, he folds his underwear. He's pretty good.
I have one drawer that's organized still.
You got
It's
a lot
my
that's
underwear.
organized.
I have a lot of disorganization now too.
You're like on the newlywed game.
Okay, I just had a question too. It popped in and then it just popped right out. I was like, tell me, that was a good one.
Is it about
Maybe I'll come
the
back.
housework or division of labor? I using your division of labor.
Laundry, fading
Yeah,
clothes,
okay.
folding underwear. Yeah.
Went in and then it went out.
You know what that is? It's called pollen.
Yeah.
Every idiot thing I've said in the last 2 days is pollen.
So you guys said that you use timeout as your main discipline tactic. So does it fall? Do both of you guys feel like you're kind of doing that? Or,
Yeah, I think we both do it equally.
Goody cage.
And you know what? You can't use it all day
Good
long. Can't
Right.
use it all day long because it just loses its power, I guess.
What,
But
timeout?
or just no, well, you can't. We're not gonna do that. We have to leave because you weren't behaving. Removal of.
Well, that and
privileges.
she does the positive reinforcement thing, really. The way to do it, and with the jar and the sticks, the reward sticks.
Oh, okay.
So she's written,
They can-
good behavior or
Good deed,
polite.
the good deed chart.
Yeah, good deed chart.
And they have to earn this. We haven't done it in a while because we were doing because they needed something. they needed to have more positive reinforcement. And now doing
Yes.
treats or milkshake after school or thank you, it's going a little bit further, especially for Simon. Andrew's still, he needs more constant. He grabs a hold of it, and if you fuss at him all day long, he gets just worse. I mean, he's a great example of Andrew. You punish him, he'll just go.
You laughs
And
in
he'll
your
just
face.
laughs, right? And then he'll just push your button, So, but if you swish and go, maybe more pot. What have I said he's doing right? How is he being helpful? And he really, gravitates towards that. I mean, they both do, but I can see a big difference. And there's an age difference too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 3, so.
Yeah. Do you think that he's like trying to just be in somebody's attention all the time?
Oh, yeah.
Andrews?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that too. They compete. I mean, you see how they are. If we separated them and then had, you did something separately with Andrew, something separately with Simon, you just see these different kids. I mean, they compete. They rarely, I know they did. They kind of pushed each other away because Simon needed something to eat, but they rarely fight though. I mean, they tackle and wrestle and all that, but they're usually
They haven't
pretty
hit
helpful
that
and
stage
nice.
yet. Thank goodness.
Well, compared to what I hear about siblings, I'm like, oh gosh, I just thought that being.
Well, I did remember my question, and we're almost done. So when the kids were little, were you active in diaper changing, getting up in the middle of the night, that kind of stuff?
Diaper changing, obviously. Getting up in the middle, back in the day with Alexandria, I was always called out in the middle of the night to go fix something, right? So
He worked a really
I had kind of
schedule.
some weird hours, but I mean, I do remember getting up and, caring for her, giving her a bottle in the early morning, when we first moved here, 5 a.m. or whatever, feeding her before I go to work. And, we always shared those chores. And then, with Simon and Andrew, it's a little fresher in my brain. I mean, we've split. I mean, like I said, they slept all through the night. So that was never really a task, which was, great, because the older you get, losing your sleep, if you get woken up in the middle of the night at, 48, 50, you're probably not going back to sleep. Back when we were 20s, yeah, you probably go back to sleep. But, so that was, that was the good thing with them. But, changing diapers, yeah. I was so glad when Andrew got done with that, man. I mean,
Yeah. He was more verbal when he did the potty, the poopy
I mean, that
diapers.
was.
Dear Lord, Jiminy Crickets.
Yeah. That
So
was,
did you just
horrible.
feel like it was expected? Like some men are like, I would never do that. I mean, like, did you, when you got
Yeah.
married, you just knew that you would be doing that? Or?
yeah, I mean, we obviously living with a developmental psychologist, you're just going to have some inherent things integrated into your being. Now, my dad, no, would never have happened.
Different generation.
Had I not married a developmental psychologist, no, it probably wouldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean? It was, that she was pretty.
Papa never changed diapers.
No.
No,
That's
he
not
wouldn't
the
know.
generation. He's 84 years old. I mean, my dad wasn't either.
Men didn't do that.
It wasn't an expert because women primarily stayed home. It was considered their job, and they did that. So it was different, especially when both of us were working, which
Yeah.
I've always worked. When Alexander was little, I was home most of the summer because with Gainesville
She-
State,
she
it has
leaves
summer
every month,
classes and
or every year. She goes away for a week every year. So that, with those kind of things, I mean,
We're
just- you got to be
abroad.
able to do it yourself. I mean, as a
Yeah, and he does. You go places too. So, but you appreciate your spouse. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this single parenting is, and taking care of the dogs and pulling the trash out and just, what else I gotta get? And I gotta take the kids with me, So we're appreciative of
Gotcha.
the tag teaming.
Gotcha. Well, what about like a daily schedule? Just give me like on a weekday.
Okay,
Like
well, if it's a day
Depends on
he
which day.
drives into CDC, he gets up at 5:30, and then I'm awake because I wake up when he wakes up. So our day's earlier, and then he'll leave by 6:15 to drive into Atlanta, and I'll get the kids on the bus, sign on the bus, Andrew daycare, and I'll go to work. But the other days when he doesn't have to drive in, we can wake up a little bit later. He'll take Andrew to school. I'll see sign on the bus, and I can go to work. And he stays here and works. So we just try to work it. And he said I can do 2 days at home. Which 2 days? I said the days I go to Gainesville, because that way I can get on the road sooner. because it's a 40-minute drive compared to the 15 minutes to come to campus. So anyways, we've just, whatever we need to do, it works out. And he used to, a different schedule when he worked for a different company. He used to see Alexander on the bus every morning.
Yeah,
I left for work when the bus would come. I get to work, sooner, which was great,
back in the beautiful days of
early in the neighborhood, so.
go to work
It's
late, get
always,
off
it's
early.
never, it's always changed for us, because it's been whatever we've needed to do at the time and cover it. So thank goodness our jobs have been like, we've been able to do that.
I've always had some level of flexibility. It seemed like it was always, Alexandria, she was always able to be home to get her off the bus.
Most of
the time,
school
yeah.
years.
I mean, I guess now it's daycare. Now they go into the
After school.
after-school
For like an
program.
hour.
So, that's, and we had, back when Alexandria was coming up, we had a babysitter in the neighborhood. So that was, we didn't do the daycare thing with her, ever, I guess, really.
No, she never went to daycare.
She never had
She always had
structured
a
care like that until kindergarten. She went to the pre-K program. Yeah. So she was always close by or, in a neighbor's house when we brought her up. And so that's been a little different between the boys and she. So.
Okay. And this is kind of a weird question. I don't know if you'll be able to come up with anything, but if you think about your guys' last conflict or disagreement, like how do conflicts get handled in your marriage?
I don't talk for about 5 days. So she makes me. No, I'm just.
No, I won't let you go that long. He would be fine, actually, not discussing things, but we both have come under the, I don't be both. So sometimes when I'm not, you'll say, you'll initiate it, but we know that if we I want to deal with it and move on, wipe the slate clean. I'm not going to talk about it ever again. That's what my goal, but I can't do that until I talk about it, So I used to just wait for him to say not now, for years. I'm like, we just need to talk, let's move on. And the things that bother us now, things used to get bothered by stuff when we were newlyweds and early in your marriage, about stuff that was really more petty, but now it's usually about big things and treating each other and being considerate of each other and that kind of stuff, so.
Dog's gonna fall asleep.
So
fall
they're
out of
boring
the
me.
chair.
Okay, so just one more question.
Okay, fine.
And I know there's no favorites or anything like that, but if you think about the boys, do they seem to prefer one of you over the other? Like for snuggle time or even with Alexandria, is there a little favorite kind of relationship anywhere in there that you could?
Diane's always, from my perspective, the boys especially, they come in, it's mommy, 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 mommy. It's just always mommy, 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 mommy. I was like, I would go insane if they came in and said daddy, 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 daddy.
Yeah, they talk a lot.
And a great example is, we've said that the boys have slept really well. Well, of recent, they've kind of, they'll go through a few days, weeks, or whatever. Andrew would wake up, comes walking into the bedroom. He doesn't come to mine. I'm closest to the door. Andrew walks around the bed, goes to his mom. So beside me.
Yeah,
If she's home.
side.
Now the interesting thing is that might have happened a couple times 2 weeks before she went on her last trip.
Got a conference together.
And when she left, they didn't get up. Didn't come in my room. Slept all night. So they know, right? They know she's gone. So therefore, there's something down in there that keeps them asleep because that ain't gonna do anything.
Or
he's
they
not
wake
gonna-
up and go, oh, it's dad.
I'm not gonna.
Better suck it up.
Obviously not that. It's not that I don't love them. I just don't dote in the same way. I think, and my mom was the same way. Your moms might have been the same way. I don't know. I just, I play. I do what needs to be done. Take care of that kind of thing. Kind of I don't know. It's a little bit different. Moms just have a tendency, I think, to just attach in that way and do those little, at least for Diane.
Yeah, I'm the one that, just like the
It's not like I don't, like they come through the door, hey, daddy, you hug them, typical stuff, right? But, if they fall down, they're crying, they're upset, they're going to her, first, that's just the way it's been.
Yeah, I'll pick them up and carry them around.
Yeah.
I still talk though.
Okay, I know I keep saying one more question, but it's really just one more question. And
Yeah.
and if you guys don't want to go into it, that's fine, because I don't know where the other family members are, but just.
We don't either. You can find them for us.
I'm just wondering if having boys be of a different race has caused any kinds of issues with the adoption or in your family or
Not
anything?
for us
Totally. I
personally.
mean, you know.
You know, it still is when we walk or when we go someplace. Not so much right here, but sometimes we go north of here or where this is very Caucasian. We'll get more looks and stuff. I just stopped looking anymore because it would just irritate me.
I don't even
He
see
doesn't
it
even
anymore.
see it. I mean, and you rarely did even with Simon, you know, but that poor Alexandra when she was 14 and she's holding Simon, she's like, you know.
Yeah, that was interesting, you know, because
Yeah.
we'd walk into, you know, like Longhorn or whatever, we'd go to dinner, right? And you have them to sit around on those benches. And so you've got her, you got me, you got Simon. you
They're
got
just looking at me,
Alexandra.
looking at him, looking at her.
And they're
like,
trying to
you know,
figure out,
going back and
okay,
back going,
little Mocha, little 14-year-old, who's the mommy? You know, and then they, you know, I think, you know, she probably had, you know, I'm sure it made her uncomfortable at some level, but we had all worked so
But in
long
our
to have
extended-
another child, you know,
Yeah.
it was kind of like we didn't care, you know.
We didn't.
Keep on
And
looking.
actually, we requested either a mixed race or African American child to foster because we didn't want Simon to be the only child that was other than Caucasian. So that's how we got Andrew. And plus, we also knew that African American children were less likely to be fostered.
Mhm.
You know, they don't have as many, and adopted too. We wanted to adopt again, but we were willing to foster, and we wanted to make sure and they're like, that's what our need is. I'm like, well, no, that's the greatest need. But, I mean, at first, I think our extended family members, especially the older family members, were a little, you're gonna do what? And, you know, he's mixed race and Andrew's African American. But it didn't take long for them to be treated just like, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's different. I mean, Alexandria was the only one for so long in our family, you know, and then with the other bunch of girls, and then she's the only girl, and my mom, and my side of the family, a bunch of boys. So it was a little different. I mean, you know, for that, and it was such a long span of time. And then there's Simon, and then there's Andrew, you know. So there's a little bit of adjustment, but you know, they adore him and
Yeah, and I
treat
mean,
him just like.
you know, Simon with his look and the mix of all things he's got, I mean, we've had just about every race out there ask about him, whether, you know, it be Hispanic or Indian or, you
Yeah.
know, not Asian so much, but, you
I didn't
know,
tell you this, the last time was at the gas station up here.
yeah, the lady wouldn't quit.
She wouldn't
quit
stop,
asking,
she was
yeah.
Indian, and she said, is he Indian? And Simon's standing right there, which it bothers me, because one thing to ask me, but, you know, I think it potentially it bothered him, because a lot of people ask about, you know, stuff, you know. But I said, no, and she said, he's not Indian? And I said, no, and it's just wanted me to
It's
say,
pretty
and I'm
good,
like,
you got the head hobbled down too, with
Nope.
that when you said.
no, that was me boggling, you know.
Like it's
But no, yeah, exactly. You know, so
But
but people were curious. So when we went to Mexico when she was 16, and we took Simon with us. He was a year and a half old, and people swore he was Hispanic. You know, while we were
Right.
there. You know, so they just can't quite figure it out.
And then,
Right.
you know, and then Andrew, so when Andrew came along though, so then it kind of, and I think that's where it really just kind of squashed maybe the looks or the checking out so much, you know, because now there were two. And obviously, you know, Alexander's gone to college now, so that eliminated one question in people's minds, right? So that, you know, that look and, you know, you're a little more self-conscious of it at first because
Yeah.
it's new, right? Just like a new baby. Everybody looks at you because you're carrying this little baby, right? Same thing, only due to color, right? And people trying to figure it out. But once we got Andrew, that kind of solidified
Yeah.
how people understand
Right. Like, oh,
what
they're
was.
both.
Okay, yeah. So that's mom, dad, and, you know,
But
Alexander.
I do get looks when I have him out and holding him and hugging him and nuzzling or kissing on him. People look at me, you know, a little bit, but I just stopped. I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to look. And he does. He's got. But the interesting thing is when he sees someone's African American, he says, "You
Yeah.
look like me."
Yeah.
Mommy,
He used to
her
always,
look like me.
we'd go somewhere like the beach or something like that, and there'd be a black family over one blanket over, right? And he would like go over there and start hanging out. You know, it was,
Yeah.
you know,
My people. I'm
And
here.
he would just, you know, he would go. I mean, he would,
Yeah, it wasn't
it was
conscious
obvious,
that it was
right?
like-
I mean, you could just, you know, he's like, hey, but maybe not so much anymore. I mean, he realizes now. But.
We now when we first moved here, it was not soul. It was a than Caucasian, you know. And then when we adopted Simon, like, more different. Now it's this area where we're at right now is much more diverse. We actually have, you know, African American families in the neighborhood. You know, there's his teachers at school are, you know, so there's more in his class, and there's much more. There's a big population, much larger population of Indian families who moved in the last 5 years. You know, so.
Huge.
Yeah, it has, and
160 kids at the kindergarten little sing thing they did, right? And probably, I bet you almost 50% were
at
Indian.
Dave's Creek Elementary.
So it's changed a
So
bunch
that's,
in
you know,
14, 15 years.
That's
yeah.
good for, you know, it's not the only child, you know, not that that's, you know, you figure it out, you figure it out based on that, but we're glad that it's more diverse.
I mean, are they old enough, or have they like asked why they're different, or the new guys, or?
Simon, yeah, we talk about differences in skin, and I talk about how you have beautiful, you know, brown skin. Mine's, and he says yours is peach, you know, or something, you know. And Simon, I have told him what he's a mix, and I tell him, you know, what he is, and so he's starting to figure that out, but he doesn't identify it yet. He's not that age yet where he identifies in a particular way yet. He just knows that he knows the difference, and he just knows it when he sees other people. But yeah, because we talk about their first moms too,
Okay.
and they know their names, and so to their friends they'll explain that situation and say, well, my first mom she couldn't keep, you know, she couldn't take care of me, so, you know, and so they have pictures of, well, Simon does, but Andrew has a picture of his first mom, so, and she's clearly African American, you know, so it's a little,
Do you know what their natural birth order is? Were they both the oldest? From the
no,
Simon's got a
Simon has a half brother,
That's
Andrew has a half sister.
that are older, or
Older.
okay, so they're both second children.
Yes, and Simon's mother, she parented her first child, a boy, and Andrew's mom placed her baby girl for adoption at the hospital, but she wanted to parent Andrew because it was a boy. She wanted to have a boy. It was the only boy in the family, and so she named him after the grandfather. And so we kept his name. His name was Andrew. No, whatever. Cortez. Farron, and we just moved Farron to his middle name. So he's Andrew Farron Cook.
Okay.
Because he, you know, seemed like his grandfather, so we wouldn't change his name. So, and then he was 3 when we were adopted him anyway, so I wouldn't dare change his first name, no matter what his first name. I don't care. It would just because he'd had it for so long. It wasn't like a big for us. Yeah. So they've done, you know, I guess it's not an issue now, and I don't.
And they weren't given biblical names on purpose.
I know.
Names
Yeah,
were
Simon, the brother of Andrew. You know, both fishers of men. And I'm like, oh, what do you know? So it's just like, come on, disciples.
Well, I had my Adam and a Faith, so.
That's right, you do. I had to think. I'm like, yeah,
And that
you do.
wasn't on purpose either. It just kind of happened.
Adam and
Yeah,
what?
Faith.
Faith.
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how old is Adam?
25.
25. He's 25.
You have a 25-year-old?
I know. She
Get outta
doesn't
here.
look like she has
No,
a 25-year-old.
I never
know.
would have thought that. Wow.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good for
Yes.
you. Good
And
clean
Faith
living.
is a teenager, right?
Yeah, she's in 7th grade. She's
Seventh
13. She's got her first boyfriend.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Life
it's a
gets
whole different
interesting.
season. isn't it?
Yeah. I'm like, so what does this mean, having a boyfriend? Like, does this mean he gets to hold your hand? She's like, oh, God, no. I'm like, great.
Jack, you can have a boyfriend then. Yeah. We text. Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay, I think that's about all that I need to get something on paper.
Well, good.
Thank you
Good.
again.
Good luck with
for
your
time.
assignment.
Thank you.
Well,
it goes
I
well,
hate to
and
see
you're-
the size of that file. You better
I
see this guy
know.
over there
If
for it.
anyone, we don't, and I don't care if anyone did see it.